Amendment 48 is a very simple amendment. It's just one sentence long. It would define every human being as a person from the very moment of our beginning, the moment of conception here in Colorado. Now, Amendment 48 is based on a lot of modern medical science. Embryologists, geneticists, and a lot of medical experts agree and say in their textbooks and teach in their universities that human life begins at the moment of conception. Life has been devalued in our society. It's been cheapened. I think we can all agree with that. And in order to restore that value, respect, and dignity to human life, we have to go back to the foundation. We have to lay a common sense starting point on which to have our debates on important issues of human life. We have to say that, first of all, before we talk about all those side issues, let's agree on a definition. Let's agree with our modern medical science that teaches us that human life truly begins at the moment of conception. At that moment, you're a unique individual with your own set of DNA. No one else will be created like you again. You have intrinsic value simply because you're a human being. That's what Amendment 48 would recognize. Secondly, Amendment 48 empowers the citizens of Colorado to have a voice. It lets us tell our elected officials and judges who we think a person is and that we believe every person, no matter how small, deserves to be protected. We're tired of having special interest groups who take money from our tax dollars. We're tired of having them control these issues. We want to have a voice on it, and we want to be able to direct our elected officials on how to manage public policy issues when it comes to important life issues. It's time to give the people of Colorado a voice, and that's what Amendment 48 is about. Amendment 48 would definitely benefit human rights in Colorado. Some people call the Personhood Amendment the civil rights issue of our day. The reason for that is because Amendment 48 really does lay a common sense starting point on which to have our debates on important issues of human life. For example, Colorado is one of only 13 states that does not have a fetal homicide law. A fetal homicide law basically recognizes that if a pregnant mother is injured and her unborn child is injured too, if you have a fetal homicide law, you can protect that child, or if the child is killed, something can be done to the criminal who killed that child. A recent case in Grand Junction happened where a mother was 8.5 months pregnant, scheduled to have her baby. She named her baby, but a reckless driver hit the mother and killed that unborn child. That baby was born, actually, and lived for 2 hours, but because she was injured as a non-person, nothing could be done about her death. Amendment 48 lays the foundation to change things like that in Colorado and act for human rights and say, that baby deserved a chance to live. We should call her a person. She could have lived outside the womb on her own. She should certainly be a person. Amendment 48 lays the foundation to have things like that happen in Colorado. To say that Amendment 48 would endanger cancer patients or criminalize miscarriages or do all the host of other things our opposition claims, those are simply hysterical scare tactics. They're simply not true. Amendment 48 is simple. It's one sentence. It recognizes modern medical science and empowers the citizens of Colorado to have a voice. It does not criminalize women who have miscarriages. That's simply ridiculous. And I'm frankly disappointed that our opposition resorts to those scare tactics to distract voters from the central question here, which is, when does life begin? Our opposition doesn't want to address that question because their answer is that you shouldn't be a person unless you can live, walk, and breathe on your own. That's a slippery slope to have a definition like that. How many of us have friends who are in wheelchairs, who might be living on machines? How many newborn babies can't walk on their own? That's a terrible definition of when you should be a person. Instead of having that definition and letting special interest groups control these issues, we need to have the correct medical definition, which is that human life begins at the moment of conception. At that moment, you're a person with special abilities and fundamental rights as a person here in Colorado. That's what voting yes on Amendment 48 would do. For more information, please visit our website at personhood2008.com.